my body was diagnosed with lung cancer, 2015. And long story, I live in Houston, which is the Mecca cancer.
Cancer treatment, yeah.
Yeah. So of course I said, well, I have to go to the oncologist, and I have all this crap.
Well, tell them.
You're so young, my doctor, I don't want you to die. You're such a sad case. Oh my gosh. And he continued with blah, 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 blah. He was explaining to my mom how bad I was. So I tell him like, shh. You're not gonna see me as a sad case because I'm a success case. And he, oh yes, of course, but yada, 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 yada. You're gonna die. And I said, basically.
Wait a second, let's not beat up the doctors here. Let's get to the facts, okay?
So I fired him from my team, healing team. I decided to go by my way because he always say, buy the book, you should have brain cancer and bone metastases and all that stuff. So I decided that I wasn't going to have anything of that. So he wasn't a good, inspiration for me. So I said, thanks, but you're fired.
When you're diagnosed with cancer, cancer is a big deal. When you're diagnosed with cancer, what emotion is normally created right after the diagnosis? And what happens is the stronger the fear that you feel, the more altered you feel inside of you, the more you pay attention to the cause. And that's where the brain takes a snapshot, and that's called a memory. So one event like that creates a long-term memory for a person, and it's the fear then that they have to try to overcome, because there's a normal and natural progression with most people with cancer. They head in a certain direction, and so it's going to take an act of great will, uncompromising will, a tenacity, and a willingness to be greater than it. And it has to require being greater than the fear. The passion to live has to be greater than the fear of death. Do you understand? And so I appreciate her tenacity, but I'm not recommending that when your doctor gives you a diagnosis that you go, no, 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 no. No, because it's important to go to a doctor and get tests. I always say, if you don't look, then you're in denial. So she made the right choice by getting the tests so that she has a baseline, and then she could go back and keep getting the tests. And if what she's doing is causing certain values or certain conditions or certain markers to go down, then she knows that she's doing the right thing and she should keep doing it. Does that make sense? That she's getting feedback from her environment that's telling her that whatever she's doing is working. If she's doing certain things and it isn't working, and she gets a test, it's time to change again and try something else, or add another thing, or figure out another way to go after it.
And I found this doctor who combines alternative with conventional, and he's very open-minded, that's why I hired him. He said, okay, you're in my team. And I went to Austin last year to the progressive, and you mentioned, you can see the results of this work in a blood test. And I said, I have every other week my blood test drawn, so I know I can, make sure that something could be changed. So after that, I had the lab work done, and my doctor said, he's from Lebanon, my dear Valentina, what the heck? And I was like, oops, what happened? Your levels are awesome. You're almost there. What have you done? Well, I've been meditating. Okay, yes. And what else? No. Are you taking your supplements? Yes, I'm taking my supplements. Are you doing this? Yes, I'm doing this. Okay, keep doing whatever you're doing. I said to my husband, why don't we go to the week-long are you crazy? No, I'm not, let's go, blah, blah, blah. And the doctor said, you have to come back for, we have to check, whatever. And I said, no, I'm gonna do what I have to do. The link that is missing is not a physical thing that I have to do, is beyond that. So we went to Tarragona. That was like 2 or 3 weeks after Austin. And I had a great time there. I did a great effort. I did my best. And on my way back, the night that we left Tarragona, I lost my voice. I have bronchitis, sinusitis, and I have my period, which I didn't have for months. So I said, well, something happened in my body, because it's like a chaos. Something happened. So I couldn't talk for a week. I was in bed. I was in a very bad shape. My husband was driving crazy, and I understood my body was saying, this is a healing process. You have to keep going, and no medicine, no anything. Just be strong, go through it, and you will be okay. That's the thing that I heard. And there were 7 days, like 7 days of the week long and 7 days of healing crisis. And the last day, I was kind of in a depression. I was like crying, and I was like, well, drama queen. And I was like, what's going on with me? What's going on with me? So then I understood. I said, okay, I'm having kind of a shift. I don't know how to express this, English or Spanish or any language. I don't know how to express. Can you help me? Something happened. I don't know how to express.
I mean, when we did our first week-long event in Tarragona, we had just under 1,000 people there, and they were very passionate. And we introduced the coherence healing, the cage healing that you're about to learn tomorrow. And there are people in this audience that were in other week-long events that had that experience, and they're going to talk to you this week too about the changes that have happened in their body. Now, when the nervous system processes a greater frequency, what happens is, at a cellular level, at the very, very tiny microscopic level, there's little protein filaments in the cells called microtubules. And some of the scientists that have studied microtubules have said that it's the seat of consciousness. It's these tiny little skeletal structures of the cell. If you took a cell and you blew all the snot off it, you would be left with just these microtubules. Now, when the nervous system is processing a greater frequency, what happens is the nervous system controls and coordinates all other systems. All of a sudden, those microtubules begin to vibrate at a faster frequency. Remember I talked about oxytocin and vasopressin? Come on. So then oxytocin, the cell draws water so that it can act as a conduit to process a greater frequency. So as the cell starts to vibrate at a greater frequency, those microtubules begin to shimmer at a faster frequency. They emit more coherent light and information, and that's what causes the cells to begin to communicate on the same radio station. All of a sudden, they're communicating by light and information. That's how cells actually communicate, not by molecules moving through there, but the instruction is in the field of light. So the incoherence that's created with light between cells causes disease or imbalance. So now what happened in Tarragona, and happened dramatically in the next one in Santa Fe, in New Mexico, is that we had so many people after the event get sick. It's just sick. They thought they were sick. But when the cell does that and it's getting an upgrade, it's going to release a lot of waste. It's going to release a lot of toxins. And I wrote a blog about it because so many people wound up in the hospital and they did samples and couldn't find any bacteria or anything wrong with them. It was a transmutation of tissue, and so the body's purging any waste because the frequency is causing the cell to function at a higher level, and anything in the cell that doesn't belong, the cell is going to begin to change. Does that make sense? And all of a sudden this waste is dumped in the body and you have flu-like symptoms right around the throat here and right around the heart and lungs. That's primarily where it happens the most. And so the body now is ridding whatever waste it needs to emit, because as that experience happens, it's moving closer into the present moment, and in a sense, anything in the past doesn't belong there, so you'll see a dumping of waste very quickly. And so a lot of people had a lot of flu-like symptoms. It happens to me all the time whenever I connect to that frequency. It happened to me when I was in Paris, and I came home. I had 3 days where I was just on fire. I didn't feel sick, but I was fevers, and I just knew after that experience that my body was doing whatever it does. And you shouldn't see it anything else but as a blessing, as a change in your tissues. And it happens quite a bit in these week-longs. So just a side note. Go ahead.
2 days after that, I needed to send my blood to the doctor, and I was like, oops, this is going to be bad because I've been, so bad and whatever. So he called me again, he called me back, and he said, what the hell? And he's a very proper, and he's driving crazy. So he's like, I don't understand what you're doing. And he said, don't drink, don't blah, blah, blah. And I say, well, in Tarragona, I drank. I ate whatever I wanted because I knew I was going to be okay and my body was going to process everything, okay? So when he said that, I said, oops. He saw the wine in my stomach. So he said, I don't understand, because for a person, that's the theory. For a person who has cancer, it took, 5 to 7 years to develop that. So you more or less have to think that it's going to take 5 to 7 years to
reverse it.
And somehow in 3 months I was perfect. My liver was perfect, my kidneys, everything was perfect. You're the healthiest person I ever met. I don't understand what happened. So I knew that I was healed, and I will say, I'm in remission. He said, no. We can't say that. We have to wait to blah, blah, blah. Okay, you take your time. I know I'm in remission. Yes, okay. He always say, when do you want to take your blood? I want to spread. I don't want to do it every other week. I want to begin doing 3 months. He said, no, it has to be 1. No, I don't need it 1. I want it 3. Okay, it's going to be 3. And he said, well, we have to keep with their x-ray. Yes, I want to keep the x-rays just to check how I'm progressing. And I said, I want to do it in this date and this date. Okay, I'm going to give you the orders. Just keep doing what you're doing. And he called me like March or something like that. He said, in my last lab work, he said, you know what? I have to admit, you've been right all the time. You're in remission. I said, well, I knew it, but I'm glad that you already accept that. Good for you. I think I'm done. So thank you. Thank you so much for everything.
You're
because
welcome.
You pushed me somehow to find my own potential, and I've been, giving speeches where I live, and I just say to the people, it's not me. It's just that we all have this, and I'm very thankful. And the other thing is that that happened in me is that the doctors keep saying stuff, and I didn't want to listen to them because I wanted to focus on health, not in the illness. So I'm writing a book, and I asked my oncologist to write the foreword. He decided to do that, so when he finished, he sent it to me, and then I knew what stage of cancer in their world was, because I didn't want to know. So then I get to know that it was stage 4.
Wow.
And he wrote the statistics. Of course, I don't remember the statistics. And it was like very, I don't know. But it was, when I read that, I began crying because I said, did I just achieve this? I was like jumping out everywhere. So yeah, I'm very happy and I'm very thankful.
Thank you so much.